Okay, so here's my quarantine setup. I just wanted to point it out a little bit, what I'm doing. I just sold a couple of my corals to one of my subscribers, super friendly guy, Raphael, and his wife. Thank you guys for coming by, I really appreciate it. So let me just tell you what I've done. I'll do some zoom-ins here in a second so you can kind of see what I've done. But this is just a 10-gallon tank. I know it's on the small side, but my wife got it for free a while ago, and as you can see, I don't have a lot of space to put it. So we're gonna go with a 10-gallon. I cleaned it out, obviously. I cleaned it out with bleach first, scrubbed it down, rinsed it out several times, and then I let it dry completely. Anytime you use bleach, you want to make sure that it dries completely, because once it completely dries, the bleach dissipates and it's no longer dangerous. But if it's wet at all, even a tiny bit of bleach could just destroy your whole system. So I made sure it dried for, 48 hours. It was completely dry. Then I was like, what do I want to do here? So obviously on the inside you can see I put in some PVC piping. I'm going to be moving over here my 2 clownfish, my leather coral that they like, and then probably just my shrimp. And the rest of it I'm going to be selling, which I don't have. I just sold my frog spawn and one of my torch corals. So I'll have a few more things for sale, which maybe I'll post at the bottom of this video, maybe I won't, but I'll let you guys know about it. If you live in the Seattle area, I live in Mercer Island, you can come by. So I got this light here. It was like $30 on eBay. Super cheap, has 2 settings, right? It has the moon setting. They're not very strong lights, but they'll be enough for like a fish-only system, which is going to be fine, because this is going to be set up here for several weeks. Now, I haven't cycled this tank yet, and I know some of you are going to be horrified by that. But what I've done is I have some of this microbacter. So I'll be dosing the microbacter. I have a bunch of bioball-like things, which I'll show you. They're fluval biocubes. I forget what they call them. I have those in here at the bottom. I also have them back here in the hang on the back filter. And what I'm going to be doing is I am just going to be doing crazy amounts of maintenance on this. I'll be doing probably 50% water changes once a week, just to make sure the ammonia level doesn't spike. So I'm really not concerned about that, because I know I can take care of this system. On the back, I just have a hang on the back filter that is literally, I think it's rated for like 20 gallons, so I always try to go double what it's rated for. And I just put some filter floss in there. I also put a larger sponge, which I'm only going to ever rinse out in aquarium water, so that hopefully some beneficial bacteria will colonize on that. And then I have some carbon in there as well, but really with the amount of water changes I'm doing, carbon and GFO probably aren't going to be super necessary. I'm also not going to have it on a super big light schedule, just so that there's not a lot of nuisance algae that grows. It's going to be a little tricky today when I move over the colt coral, the leather coral, mainly because on the base the colt coral is attached to this small rock, and this rock on it, it has bubble algae, and it has who knows what else. There might be some hair algae on it. So I have a couple options, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to do. I could try to gently detach it, but I'm worried I'm going to just injure the colt coral, and then I'm going to have to rubber band it on to something to see if that will hold it. Or what I might do, and I'm not sure yet, is I might use some of my hydrogen peroxide that I have and do very careful dipping and using a pipette, trying to kill off all of that I can. And then I'm sure what I'm going to have to be doing is I'm going to have to be taking it out constantly, scrubbing it off until I make sure all of that is gone. Obviously, I don't want to introduce any of that stuff back into my other tank. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I also went ahead for this one. I'm going to be selling my, forgetting the name, my Neptune Apex as well. It's just something I just don't use that much, to be honest. I use it to turn switches on and off. The pH is stable. I never have a problem with that. Temperature is the only thing I need it for. So what I went ahead and did, and I'll zoom in on this as well, is I bought this Inkbird. You can buy these. I think they're $35. They're really handy. They come with a little probe thermometer that you can just put into the water, and then you just plug it in. So there's a couple plugins here, one for cooling, one for heating, and I have it set to 77 degrees and with a variance of 1 degree. So when it gets down to 76, it'll turn back on, and I just connected it to a little heater I bought in here. It's working really well. It's keeping everything between 76 and 77 right now. I'm going to throw in a backup heater in here, which I'm going to set nice and low, so that hopefully will only turn on in the event that this one fails. But this also has an alarm to it, so it won't fail for too long without me knowing. Regarding flow in the tank, I am going to try to save my anemone. I don't think it's going to work. I'm going to move the anemone later today, which I'll show you guys, into this tank. But for that to work, two things are going to have to happen. One, I'm probably going to have to build some sort of egg crate thing here to raise it up so the anemone has an opportunity to be close to this light, because it's really not a very powerful light. So that's going to have to happen, and I don't know if that'll happen today or tomorrow, but I will be moving the anemone over later today. And then the other thing is I'm going to need some strong flow. So right now I have those Cobalt MJ 1200s, but I'm worried it's going to be too much flow. So I'm going to put that in today. I'm going to play around with it before I move anything over, see if I can dial it back a little bit, maybe spread it out. If that doesn't work, I am going to have to purchase a different power head that is going to have a lot less flow. Another option is I could move over my MP10 from my main display tank, put my MJ 1200 in that tank, keep that going, of course, until I sell everything off in there, and then just put my MP10 on sort of a low setting, and that would probably work as well. So I'm going to experiment a little bit and see what works best. But anyway, let's get to work. All right, so as I expected, it's clearly too much flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this in my Reefer 170, and then I'm going to take the MP10. I got to clean it first before I put it over here, and then I'm going to put it on low and see if that's going to work. When you're cleaning your MP10, you want to be super careful, and then some advice so that you don't make some mistakes that I made. So this central area here, right, this part that goes inside, this is ceramic, this little piece right here. Let me see if I can show it to you. Okay, that's a ceramic piece, and that easily shatters. And if you break that, it's going to not run efficiently, and you're going to have to buy a whole new wet side, okay? So I'm not going to put this in vinegar. Also, this side here has to be a little bit tacky, and I soaked this in vinegar once, and it removed all the tackiness, and so the MP10 would just spin and spin and spin and spin nonstop, and I couldn't get it to stick no matter what I did. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want to soak this in vinegar, but you can see I have some algae on here. I'm just going to soak this in hydrogen peroxide. That should do the trick and clean this without destroying this filmy part. Also to note, when this is all put together, so this goes into here, right? When you have, it's confused me so much the first time. This is backwards. It's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey for doing this. It's the exact opposite. So to get this off, it shouldn't take that much pressure, but you have to make sure you're going the opposite from what you would normally do. So I'm going to be soaking this in vinegar, which I have down here. I'm just doing straight up vinegar. I might put a little bit of water in there later, but it'll work fine. This top piece here comes off. You gently want to pull it out. Rinse this piece off. I will soak this in vinegar as well. This has a strong magnet in here. This one, hydrogen peroxide. All right. Okay, so here's the first zoom in. Just point out the few things. I got some different size PVC piping here. Wash them off, of course, just with some hot water. Put them in here. I'm hoping that the fish will be able to hide in here, maybe the shrimp as well. I do have my one pistol shrimp that I'm a little bit worried about. So I may get a PVC pipe that's even smaller than this so that he can hide in there. I'm not going to put any sand in here, and I know that's what he loves to do. So I'm going to be selling him. So if anybody wants a red pistol shrimp, a pistol shrimp that does not pair, it's one of the kinds that will not pair with any fish, just so you know. But if you're looking for one to burrow, to hide under your rocks, let me know. You can come by, pick them up for pretty cheap. Over here, I just bought a little filter bag, and in there I have these fluval, what do I call them? Biomax. And here, I'll hold them up so you can kind of see what they are. Okay. These would not be my preferred choice, to be completely honest with you. But I went with them for ease because they sold them at the store, and I know they'll get the job done. So I have a bag of them. I used about half of this total. And I have a bag of them over here. Just going to leave them there. I'm going to rinse them off once every couple weeks or so. Of course, just using the tank water so that I don't kill the beneficial bacteria. And hopefully they will help me keep my ammonia in check. I also, in the back, you can see kind of hiding out here, I put a few of them in the bottom. And occasionally I'm probably going to have to pull them out because some detritus and some other waste matter is going to collect in there. But for now, that's going to be okay. And then I have some carbon. Right now, I have these two little carbon things that came with the filtration system, which I'll have to show you in a second because I don't have it here. It's a Marina Slim filtration system rated for 20, and they come with these 4 slots, right? And they want you to buy their own little tabs, which are ridiculously priced for like 3 of these carbon when they charge you $9. It's ridiculous. So I'm just using the 2 that they have right now. I'm going to go out and buy a couple small mesh bags and just use my own in there as well. And then you can see up here, here's where the intake comes in. I put some filter floss right underneath there. I'll be replacing that weekly to pull out most of the organic matter. But then I also put this large white filter pad, which I will rinse out every week or so with tank water. It can also be a place where bacteria is going to colonize. I picked up this Zacro heater you can see over here. They're pretty cheap online. They're 50 watt. I'm a big proponent of not getting a heater that's too big for your system, because if it does freeze on the on position, which all heaters will fail eventually, if you get something too big, it'll fry your tank up to 90 degrees. I'm hoping if this were to happen and I didn't catch it for a few hours, it might only go up to mid 80s and maybe things would still survive. So anyway, what I'm going to do next here is I'm going to set up that MJ1200 and try to get some flow going and see how it looks. So next up, I'm going to be tackling my pez payasos, my clownfish, working on my Spanish a little bit. What I'm going to do, and I'll show you a video of this maybe in time lapse, I'm going to put on my rubber gloves that I have. I'm going to break off the small piece of rock that this leather coral is attached to, right? Then I'm going to take that out and I'm going to see if I can disconnect it. I don't think I can. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start treating the base rock, and I'm going to treat it again with hydrogen peroxide, right? After that, I will then take this, put this in the quarantine tank, pull out some of the rocks, and then begin the process to catch my fish. I am going to have to acclimate it though, because the water in here is very different than the water in my quarantine tank. So I'll be doing a drip acclimation as well to get them ready for the new tank, even though the temperatures will be pretty comparable. A lot of the trace elements, ammonia nitrites, all that will be a little bit different. So definitely take your time when doing that. I'm going to take my time. There's one other thing I was going to mention about that, but I can't forget. Oh yeah, I have this, the salinity is about 1.026 or 35, I forget which is parts per million. I'm having my quarantine tank to have a lower level of salinity, like a 0.34 or a 1.024. I have heard that it can be a little bit easier on stressed fish to have a little bit less salinity. Everybody, as you could see, I just took out the cold coral. I started by just soaking in a little bit of tank water. Then I took a little pipette and I started holding the cold coral with my hand. Never a good idea to do, but it's kind of the last choice I feel like I had. Took the pipette, made sure that I tried to just get the hydrogen peroxide just on the rock. Of course, a little bit overlapped with the base, right? So you want to do it somewhat quickly because that's going to immediately start killing the coral. It's going to kill any sort of live tissue. So I went around several times after scrubbing it. First of all, I definitely scrubbed the base down with a brush. Then I used that hydrogen peroxide and tried to kill anything that was left there. Rinsed it all out, changed the water, did a coral dip using Coral RX. Tried to soak that for a little bit, rinse that out again, and now I'm just acclimating it. I don't know whether or not it will be successful, whether or not I killed off all of the algae, whether or not I killed my coral, but I feel it's the best step and the best chance I have going forward. So we'll see how that ends up working out, and I'll let you guys know, of course. Okay, so while that is drip acclimating, I'm going to start in on my other work. So I'm going to be removing all of the corals from the rock and just setting them gently down in the front. Because what I want to do is I want to get those rocks out of there relatively soon. It'll help me to catch the livestock that I need to. So yeah, I'll go ahead and speed this up so you don't have to stare at me doing the whole thing. Okay, so that went pretty quickly. What I'm going to do now is I am going to get ready to take the anemone off. So how I'm going to do that is it's a really sick anemone. It's not doing well at all. So I'm going to use the MJ1200 power head and just kind of put that flow at the foot, and I think it will probably come right off, so that I can then transfer it into another bucket to slowly start drip acclimating it. So we'll see. Wow, what a huge mess. So I got everybody transferred over. A lot of mishaps happened along the ways. I spilled a bunch of vinegar on the ground. These black PVC pipes, they actually float. I had no idea, so I had to weight them down. I could have gone out and bought something else, but I didn't. My small clownfish jumped out of the tank when I was trying to catch him into the bucket I was going to be using, which was amazing. And then when I tried to put him into the quarantine tank, he jumped out of the net, and I had to pick him up off of the counter. I did get the anemone out. I have no idea if it's going to survive or not. We'll see. But you can kind of see how it looks like right now. Let me just kind of zoom you in a little bit here so you can see what we're looking at. Jack, the pistol shrimp, has found a home in that black tube, which is great. And then over here you can see in all its misery my rose bubble tip anemone. We'll see what happens. I have no idea whether or not it's going to make the move, if it's going to survive. These lights are not super strong, so I don't have a lot of confidence, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, we're going to see what's going to happen here. This is a big bio load for this small tank. A lot of water changes and stuff like that's going to have to happen. What a royal mess. I never take this time that I really should, and so during that time lapse that you saw earlier on, I kicked over a bucket that was full of pure vinegar. Went all over the floor. It was probably like 8 cups worth. It was a copious sum. The entire apartment reeks. Spent a good half hour just trying to soak all that up. And then I just made a huge mess. I mean, take a peek at what I've done. I have everything pretty much where I want it. Sold a couple of the corals, right? As I was taking out this live rock, I had to put in a lot of salt water, so make sure you have a lot of salt water made up because the rock is a lot of mass to remove. Had to pull out all the snails, get most of the sand out. You can see it's definitely not all out yet. Had to get the anemone off, which, if that thing survives, it will be a miracle, the way I treated it. My Cobalt MJ is working pretty well here, and the thing is about this setup, it's a pretty good setup, but it's very complicated because all of my cords run through this back wall into the hub, which is on the back side. So everything is really organized. It was, but now it's not anymore. So I'm pulling stuff back through the wall. I pulled out, you can look down here, my carbon reactor, my GFO reactor, my skimmer, pulled out those pumps, have them soaking right now in some vinegar. And it really is just a ginormous mess. And I just noticed right now there's some water coming out, and I hope that's not a leak. I don't think it's a leak. Anyway, quite the day so far. It's 4 o'clock. I started this at about 11, so we're about 5 hours into it. My goal right now is just to clean up this huge mess around the apartment so it's functional again. Get everything soaking in vinegar and clean that needs to be cleaned, so that tomorrow I can do some more troubleshooting, find some specific things that need to be done, and maybe get some of these things up for sale so that I can finally break down this tank. My hope is to get rid of everything in here, this weekend preferably, so that I can break this down, clean it out with vinegar, and get it up for sale as well, so that I can use that money to purchase my next tank. Anyway, it's quite the day. I think I'm going to sign off there. This video is probably super long already. Thanks for watching. Any questions, just ask down below. Go ahead and like, dislike, leave a comment if you want. We all love this hobby, and I'm sure I'm doing things that you're like, I cannot believe that guy's doing that. What a terrible idea. Just let me know about it, because I learn from you guys. Yeah, that's pretty much how I learn. Anyway, be well, everybody. Take care.